Today we're going to dive into everything that's needed to lose weight, but more importantly, to actually keep the weight off. Imagine this with me. We're going on a new diet. We just searched hours on the internet for the perfect diet, the perfect meal plan, the perfect everything. We decided on keto, paleo, Whole30, insert name of your diet here. This weekend, we go and we buy all the groceries, all the foods. We clean our whole kitchen, all the stuff that we don't need, we throw it in the bin. Monday, we are going to start our diet. 100%, we're going to succeed at this. Sunday, we prep, we get everything ready. Monday, we're off. We're going good. It's all feeling awesome. Tuesday, again, we're acing this. A week later, you know what? We're still making progress. Some of the weight is coming off. You know what? We can do this. Everything's going A-okay. But suddenly, things start happening. We're a bit more tired. We've got work functions to attend to, a few extra birthday parties to go to. You know what? Also, I've been craving that pizza, that burgers, that chocolate cake, a chocolate brownie. It's just like suddenly these cravings have been starting to come up a bit more. Life has been hectic. 4 or 5 weeks later, we've lost that 5 kilograms, but you know what? We can't sustain this. I'm fed up for this. I hate every moment of this. I just quit, and we go back to living the exact same way we were before. How familiar does this sound? How many of us go through this little loop over and over? I know. I've been there myself, and this is what we call yo-yo dieting. The sad truth here is 95% of all diets fail. Yes, 95%. And from those of us that has gone on a diet and we lost the weight, 65% of that weight we lost will be back within the next 6 months. And you know what? In the next 12 months, even the whole amount we lost and some more. And then what do? We just go on the next diet and the next diet. And over a course of 10 years, guess what? We just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. This is not the path to go. It's a path so many of us have fallen prey to. So the question then is, if we all know what foods we need to eat, we know how to lose the weight, why is it so bloody hard to keep it off? That is the question I actually want us to unpack today. Why this happens, and then the steps to actually go through in order to lose the weight, more importantly, to keep it off. So get a pen and paper, bookmark this video. Before we go into the why and the how, just a little bit of backstory. Yes, I studied dietetics and I studied psychology, but more importantly than that, I was 118 kilograms. This journey of going from 118 to 68 kilograms, did it happen a week or two? Hell no. I've been on every single diet, keto, banting, Whole30, paleo, whatever had a name, I was on it. And every single time I failed. That's why after I studied dietetics, I went into the whole psychology field, because if we know what to eat to lose weight, why aren't we doing it? So that led me down this rabbit hole of understanding the psychology of change, how habits function, and I used myself as the first guinea pig of developing a framework to get me from that 118 to where I'm now comfortably 68-ish, hovering around there. Did it happen in a week or two? No, it took me 6 years of developing these habits. It doesn't mean it needs to take you 6 years to get there. I've been using the same system for many years with many of my private patients. So today I'm going to unpack this whole thing with you. If I had to sum it up in one single sentence, why you aren't losing weight. You are not the person capable of keeping the weight off. When you think about food, it's such a habitual thing we do. And your diet, and when I refer to diet, I mean how you eat, how you buy your food, how you cook your food. Everything you think about food, that is what I refer to diet-wise. How much of that is automatic? You go to the supermarket, you buy the same 10 to 15 foods over and over and over. You cook the same 8 to 12 dishes every single week, over and over. Every time you watch Netflix, you have your bag of chips. Every time you watch Netflix, now you want a bag of chips, over and over and over. So your whole diet isn't really a conscious choice anymore. It's the choices you've programmed yourself by your upbringing, your conditioning, your beliefs around food, how you've been living every single week for the last years over and over. So how do you expect to just change that in a single week unless we start focusing on the underlying factors? Think of it this way. You are overweight. Food isn't the problem. Food is the symptom of the problem. And the problem is your lifestyle, how you function around food. Same when I work with alcoholics or drug addicts. The alcohol or the drug is never the problem. It's always the symptom of the problem. If we just focus on going on a diet, we are just trying to treat the symptom. We're not actually working with a problem. So when we go on a diet, we try to change 100 things in a week. We do it for 4 or 5 weeks. Where do we end up? Crash and burn. Change doesn't work like that. In order to lose the weight and keep it off, you as an individual need to change. And what do we need to change? One word: habits. But this is where the catch comes in. Changing habits. When you go on a diet, how many things are you trying to change? And that's the problem. The more habits we try to change, the more resistance we face. And it's that resistance that makes us give up. To dive a bit deeper on just the habit part first, there's 2 areas I want us to dive into: the psychological reason and the neuroscience reason. Take note and take a screenshot of the following. Changing more than one habit at a time can be challenging because of the way our brains and behaviors are structured. Psychologically, habits are deeply ingrained patterns of behavior that become automatic over time. Focusing on changing one habit allows us to dedicate our cognitive and emotional resources to that single change, increasing the likelihood of success. From a neuroscience perspective, habits are stored in the basal ganglia, part of the brain involved with motor control and learning. Forming a new habit requires creating new neural pathways, which takes time and consistent effort. Attempting to change multiple habits simultaneously can overwhelm the brain's capacity to form new pathways effectively. Additionally, self-control and willpower are finite resources. When you try to change multiple habits at once, we deplete these resources more quickly, making it harder to stick to any one of the changes. This is why it's more effective to focus on one habit at a time, allowing for gradual and sustainable change. In other words, willpower is finite. We don't have infinite willpower. And that diet you've been on, the last one, how many habits have you tried to change in that single few weeks? You are guaranteeing failure. So then we're waffling on about all of this. What is the framework then? This is where I want us now to go into the 11 habits you need to cultivate to lose the weight and keep it off. But it was very important for me to first give you a big picture overview of why you can't do all 11 of these habits in one single week. You need to take one of these habits, master it for a few weeks, 1 or 2 or 3 weeks until you can do it consistently, then the next habit, and then the next habit, and slowly every few weeks, you are adding a habit to your lifestyle. So let's dive in. The first habit, eating slow. Seems simple enough, but it is one of the most important habits you can master. Most of us scoff down our food in 10-15 minutes, done. We go dish up seconds, another 10-15 minutes later, we sit there. Oh, you know what? I had too much to eat. Yes, you just overfed yourself. You had too much food. It takes 25 to 30 minutes for the body to recognize how much food it has consumed. But we finish eating in 10-15 minutes. Start practicing the skill of eating slower. It is vitally important on this journey ahead. Tip I'll give you here. Every bite, chew it, put down your cutlery. Then pick up your knife and fork, put it in your mouth, put it down again. Easy way to do it. Another way, put your food in a bowl and eat with a teaspoon. A teaspoon smaller than a fork or a tablespoon, which actually stretches the amount of time you eat. Start paying attention to how fast you are eating. Also, just on that eating fast, it just shows you how mindlessly we are eating. Constantly be distracted by a phone, technology, TV. We don't pay attention to what we are eating. Slow down. Now, the second one, the first habit needs to be mastered in order to get to the second habit, which is 80% full. 80% full referring to, you know what? My own hunger cues, my own satiety cues. Most of us believe we are hungry. It's very rare we actually experience true hunger anymore. There's a difference between physical hunger and psychological hunger, conditioned hunger. Most of us believe we are hungry because every day 10 o'clock we eat. Every day 5 o'clock we eat. We eat habitually, not out of hunger cues. Now, where 80% becomes very important, it's getting to that point of actually understanding my own satiety levels. Am I full? Am I 80% full? Am I hungry? Am I psychologically hungry? Am I physically hungry? And the only way we can actually start paying attention to these cues is by, you guessed it, eating slower. That way we can start feeling what the body is telling us, not just mindlessly being a slave to food. That now bringing us to the third one. And for fat loss, one of the most important macronutrients, eating lean proteins with each meal. If fat loss is your goal, lean proteins are the most important macronutrient. They satiate us, keep us fuller for longer, and with that being fuller for longer, it's easier to keep the hunger at bay. Real hunger, not psychological hunger. So the goal there is every single meal you have to have at least 1 or 2 palms of protein per meal. Check in the description down below. There's a handy PDF, a link for the best protein sources to the worst. Everything you need to know about proteins. But every single meal, you should have proteins. And for all the people there with insulin insensitivity or diabetes, eating your protein first is one of the best things you can do, because that will slow down digestion of the meal, which means we will slow down the blood glucose spike. The fourth habit, the devil, the thing we should never eat. We shouldn't eat it because we have to cut it out. If we cut it out, we will lose weight. Carbohydrates. Carbohydrates aren't the devil. Yes, carbohydrates can make it easy to overeat. But this is where there's a bit of nuance. The kind of carbohydrates matter. To simplify this, without going too deep into the whole science of carbohydrates, let's just say you need to eat smart carbs. Smart carbs meaning carbohydrates that you are making small choices about. Whole carbs. If you can see what the carbohydrate was, you are on the right path. If I take a slice of bread, we know it's made out of wheat. Can I see the wheat in it? Can I see what wheat is? No. But if I'm going to take some rice, potatoes, sweet potatoes, legumes, chickpeas, lentil, mung beans, buckwheat, barley, spelt, amaranth, quinoa, all these kinds of stuff. If you look at that in a bowl, can you see what it was? Yes. That's when it comes to carbs. The only thing to focus on is eating carbs that you can actually see what they were originally. What that means, they have less energy per gram. And if we're trying to lose weight, it's an energy balance thing. Now, the more processed a carb becomes, the more energy we have per gram. 100 grams of boiled potato is like 80, 90 calories. 100 grams of boiled pasta, that's like 160 calories. Both foods are 100 grams. Why's the one double the energy? Because of the processing. The pasta has less moisture per gram, where the potato is actually almost 70, 80% water content. Pasta is not. That's why when it comes to carbs, it's not about eliminating carbs. It's about eating whole smart carbs. With the smart carbs, look at the description down below. I'll link also a nice handy PDF breaking down all the carbs from best to worst. Number 5, half your plate of food should be veggies. Let me just simplify it a bit more. If you take a plate of food, half of that being vegetables, 30% being proteins, that 1 or 2 palms of protein, and 20% being carbohydrates. If that's what you're going to focus on every single meal, you are winning at this game. With half your plate being vegetables, that is an easy way to bulk up the volume of your meal. Remember, we still eat with our eyes. We see how big a plate of food is, but also the stretch on the stomach. We've got mechanical receptors also that activate, that sends a signal to the brain. You know what? You had enough to eat. You can stop now. Vegetables is an awesome way to do that. And frozen veggies is completely fine. Half my vegetable intake is always frozen veggies. It's easy to cook. It's quick. It's convenient. I have a life. I've got 2 toddlers. I don't want to spend hours every day chopping up vegetables. There's nothing wrong with frozen vegetables. If you're worrying about the nutrient difference between frozen veggies and fresh veggies and all these things, what's the point? You're missing the big picture. Worrying about those little small things won't give you any dividends on living healthier. Frozen veggies are perfectly fine. I live off them most of the days. Number 6, paying attention to your fat intake. Fat is an essential macronutrient, but this is also what's very important. We have healthier fats and not so healthy fats. Check the description down below for a handy PDF that I break all of that down for you. Now, when it comes to fat, where we just need to be mindful. Protein, 1 gram is 4 calories. Carbohydrates, 1 gram is 4 calories. Let me take that boiled potato, 80-90 calories. Let me take a whole chicken breast, around 120 calories. Let me give you 2 teaspoons of cooking oil. You know what 2 teaspoons look like. It's not that much. That is nearly 90 calories. Why? Because fat, 1 gram equates to 9 calories. But now, why do we get that small little package with so much energy? What happens if you throw a glass of water into a bottle of oil? It doesn't mix. That's the whole reason. That chicken breast, 70% moisture. That potato, 70-80% moisture. Fat doesn't have water in it. So we get all the energy. So just start paying attention to how much fat you are adding to your food, and also how much fat is in the foods you buy. Because this is where it gets a bit sneaky. The moment I take fat and sugar, or fat and salt, and I combine that into a nice little package, make it even worse. Let's add some texture, some creaminess or crispiness. It is nearly impossible to stop eating because we activate the bliss point of food. It's almost like a biological response to, you know what, please eat more. It's like a binge response. Because in nature, if you found food like that, your body will tell you to eat as much of it as you physically can. Because remember, we never knew when our next meal will be there. It's a great way to make sure we survive, but we don't live in those times anymore. Start paying attention to how that combination of fat plus sugar or fat plus salt is in your daily life. Simple experiment. Boil up 300 grams of boiled potatoes. That's like 240 to 300 calories. Start eating it. You will struggle to finish them. What about buying 300 grams of French fries and you start eating them? You will finish that 300 grams of French fries like that, and you'll want more. Why can you finish that so easily, but you couldn't finish the potato? You see, because as French fries, fat, salt, crispiness. If we have that combination, it is nearly impossible to stop. So just start paying attention to where you are getting your fats and where they are coming from. Check the description down below for the handy fat PDF. Which now brings us to our 7th habit, liquid calories. So many of us consume calories in liquid form. For my honest opinion, most of those calories are like empty calories. Liquid calories don't satiate us. They don't keep us fuller for longer. They digest very quickly. They're very easy to give us a massive blood glucose spike. For what? Just the energy in it, but we get no real benefit from it. Start paying attention to the liquid calories you have in your diet, and then start replacing them for liquids that have no calories. Water, and yes, artificial sweetened drinks, Coke Zero, Sprite Zero, Pepsi Max, all these things, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. In order for you to fearmonger these things, it's going to cause us cancer, all of these things. People drink alcohol every day, every week with parties and everything. That is a known carcinogen, and we don't complain about that. But we'll say, I'll rather have Coke than Coke Zero because it might cause cancer. No, it won't. For you to get the dosage where that becomes a problem, you're going to have to consume like 8 liters of Coke Zero every single day. Who consumes 8 liters of that? It's almost impossible. Dosage makes the poison. Same way, I can tell you, around 40 people per year die because they drink too much water. So by that logic, don't drink water, you might die. Dosage makes the poison. Artificial drinks are still better than the sugary drinks. They don't cause insulin spikes, they don't cause blood glucose spikes, and they have no energy. So, and for many studies, we've proven people who substitute just from Coke to Coke Zero already loses weight. Start paying attention to that liquid calories. And one liquid calorie specifically, I know most people are going to hate me for this, alcohol. When it comes to alcohol, it's the second highest dense energy molecule there is. 1 gram of alcohol is 7 calories. Irrelevant if it's gin, if it's vodka, whiskey, brandy, beer, wine. 1 gram of alcohol will still contain 7 calories. And the more we drink, the more munchies we get, the more hungry we get. Then we go for the fried foods and all the wrong choices. I'm not saying don't drink. Just be vigilant about the quantity of liquid calories you are consuming and then start replacing them for non-calorie liquid calories. Now we're getting into a bit more advanced habits that aren't necessarily about food, but play a vital role. This is where the 8th habit starts. Sleep is king. Sleep is vital for fat loss, because if we don't sleep enough, if we get less than that 5-6 hours of sleep, the goal is actually 7 to 8 hours. The lower that number becomes, the next day, the more insulin insensitive we are, the more cravings we have, the more brain fog we have. You know, after a bad night of sleep, what foods do you crave? The healthy stuff or all the wrong stuff? That's the thing. If we are sleep deprived, it's easier to have lower willpower. It's easier to go for the box of donuts or the garage pie or anything you know you shouldn't be having, but you need it, you want it, so you just go for that. In order to lose weight, sleep is vital. The goal, 7 to 8 hours. Again, check the description down below. There's a nice little handy PDF on some tips for you to dive into to get better at sleep. Sleep needs to be prioritized. And constantly swiping on your phone every single night in that bed, it doesn't help. Sleep is very, very important for fat loss. Number 9, moving the body. No, you don't have to go punish yourself 6-7 days in the gym every single day. We had to somehow start this whole exercise talk. Upping your steps. Walking is one of the best things for many people they can start doing. Just because you're not breaking a sweat, it doesn't mean you aren't burning calories. That's where I want you to think. Just upping your steps. I can say 10,000 steps is like the golden number to aim for. But if you're averaging 3,000 steps and now you have to aim for 10,000, you're going to fail. Get a step counter. See what your average is. If you are averaging 3,000-4,000 steps per day, which most people actually do, now for the next week or two, let's aim 3.5. Then let's aim 4,000. Then let's aim 4,500. Then let's aim 5. You see, slowly we're building the amount of time we spend getting those steps up. Okay, I can do 7,000-8,000 steps every day now. Now we can start thinking, I went for a 40-minute walk now 4 times a week. Maybe now we can start thinking, maybe I can use that time now to lift some weights, go to the gym or something. But the simple habit here is just upping your step count, just moving more. Just because we believe, because I'm not sweating myself and killing myself in the gym, it's not exercise, bullshit. Walking is one of the best things you can start with because it's easy enough. It is not high impact, but it gives you the ability to form the habit of 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day, which then we can translate to a different form of exercise later. Number 10 is a big one. And it's one of the biggest ones I generally have to deal with most in my private practice when I work with my patients, and that is stress. Avoiding our stresses, hiding from our stresses will never get us anywhere. Because for many of us, food becomes a way to cope. We use food for our emotions. We eat our emotions. We are stressed. We want to eat. We had a bad day. We want to eat or drink something. For many of us, it's that conditioning of, I have a bad experience. I want to soothe myself with some food. Where do you think that leads to? Weight loss or weight gain? Yes, I know. There's always the other end of the spectrum. Some people, when they are stressed, avoid food completely. For them, it's just as bad because it doesn't mean the body doesn't need nutrients. But this is where we need to start sitting with our stresses, the things that are bugging us, the anxiety, the depression, the sadness, the loneliness. Unless we start dealing with them and actually diving into them, unpacking them, putting up the boundaries, starting to find our footing, working through them, it's very hard to actually change our lifestyle for the better, because food and alcohol and these things are such an easy escape from those emotions. In the description, I will link a starting point to start dealing with this. But if this is your biggest problem, never be shy to reach out for help or to a therapist. But asking for help to deal with our stresses doesn't mean you are weak. It actually means you're strong enough to realize, I can't cope with this on my own. I need some input. That is actually the sign of real strength. If this is an area you generally do struggle with, don't be shy to reach out to me. This is 80% of my work on a daily basis, dealing with this in order to change our lifestyle for the better. But avoiding your stresses, nothing will ever change. You know, when you're stressed, you had a rough day, mentally you're not there, what food do you go for? I don't have energy to cook. McDonald's, KFC, Pizza Hut, things like this. I had a shit day. I'm stressed. I'm worried. Am I going to exercise? Hell no. You see how that is affecting our goals of living healthier. Now we keep failing at being unhealthy. We're not living healthy. We're not losing the weight. Creates more stress. Now I'm stressed. I'm going to chase for escapisms. And that cycle repeats. You have to deal with your stresses. And now to the fun part. The 11th habit, the 80-20 rule. 80% of the time, focus on getting these 10 habits mastered. And the other 20%, sorry for my French, fuck it. Enjoy life. Have the chocolate brownies, the pizzas, the sushi, the cake, the braai broodjies, the braai vleis, whatever. We still need to enjoy food. Food brings us pleasure. On a Saturday, if I want a hamburger, I'm not going to go for a bunless burger with a side salad. I'm sorry to say, that tastes like sadness. And that's the thing. We have this whole mindset, I can't have the chocolate, I can't have this, I can't have that, I can't have that. We have something in our minds called the reticular activation system. I'm going to tell you from today, no more chocolates. I just attached a value to a chocolate. Thousands of things every day. Mentally, we can't focus on all of that. So we've got this system where we attach a value to something, positive or negative. So think of your favorite car, your favorite shoes, your favorite handbags. You see those outside. You see those in public. But a person that has no attachment to that car they like or that handbag, they won't notice that. But they still saw them. Same, if I say you can't have the chocolate, you can't have the chips, you just attached an important value to that thing. Now you're going to think of it more. You're going to go into Checkers or Woolies or any of those supermarkets. Guess what you're going to see? The chocolate. You're going to go on Instagram, Facebook. Suddenly you can notice the chocolates. They've always been there, but you just haven't been noticing them. Now you do. Guess what you're going to eventually binge on? Exactly that thing. So the 80-20 rule is 80% do these 11 habits. 20% enjoy whatever you want. It's not about not having it. It's about earning it. For me to earn my pizza, I love a good pizza. Thin-based, awesome toppings, that's my guilty pleasure. Or a good hamburger. Okay, it's not that I can't have it. I need to earn it. And how do I earn it? Getting my steps, getting my lean protein this week, focusing on my mental health, focusing on my sleep, doing what matters. And you know what? It's Saturday. We're going to go for a braai with some friends, some braai broodjies. You're going to throw a nice ribeye on the fire. no, I can't have that because I'm on a diet, you stop getting invited. It's about finding the balance, earning those indulgences. It's not about not having them. Doesn't that sound more like balance? More like actually having a life that's actually nice, where we become healthy, lose weight, and keep it off? And that's the thing. This is a journey. It's about changing the person who you are in order to lose the weight and then keep it off, because that way of living now is your new normal. When somebody tells me they're on the keto diet or the Banting or this diet or that diet, I've got nothing against those diets. I just have one important question. Can you do it for the rest of your life? 99% of the time, the answer is no. So then, guess what? You are going to fail, because once you stop the diet, you're going to revert back to all your old ways. And what's those stats? 65% of all that weight comes back within the first 6 months, and all that weight and some more within the next 12. Why did we do it there? Losing weight, keeping the weight off, is about changing the person you are, losing the weight, and then keeping it off, because that's your new way of living. And that's my whole process of losing weight and keeping it off in a nutshell. I would really appreciate a thumbs up on this video, or a subscribe to this channel, and share this video with somebody that you know has been struggling on this whole cycle of yo-yo dieting, because I know I've been there myself. And don't be shy to ask questions in the comments, because that way I can think about new ways to help all of you. What are some questions I might have missed? What are some things we can dive deeper into? Losing weight isn't a quick fix. It's about showing up every single day and focusing on being 1% better, one habit at a time. And I'm going to leave you with, as always, be 1% better today than you were yesterday.